forget his smile when he told me. That lazy, arrogant smirk stretched across his face as he lounged on our leather sectional, one arm draped carelessly over the back, like he hadn't just detonated our marriage. "I transferred the money to Mom," Mark said, scrolling through his phone. "All of it." I stood in our living room, still in my work clothes, my laptop bag heavy on my shoulder. The words didn't register at first. "What money?" "The joint savings." He glanced up, that smirk widening. "About 65,000. Mom needs it more than you ever will." My name is Serenity, and that was the moment my husband of 8 years decided to show me exactly who he was. I set my bag down slowly, my hands steady despite the roaring in my ears. "You transferred our entire savings to Denise without discussing it with me?" "Don't be dramatic," Mark rolled his eyes. "Mom's having a rough time. The country club raised their fees and she needs the cushion. Besides, it's basically family money anyway." "Family money?" My voice came out eerily calm. "I put most of that money in there. From my business, my clients." "Oh, please," he scoffed. "Your little decorating hobby? Mom actually has real expenses." The doorbell rang before I could respond. Mark jumped up, suddenly animated. "That'll be her now." Of course it was. Denise swept in wearing designer everything, clutching an expensive bottle of wine. Her perfectly highlighted hair bounced as she air-kissed my cheek. "Darling," she cooed, "I just had to come thank you both personally. Such a generous gift, though really it's just returning what's rightfully mine, isn't it?" I watched them pour the wine, their matching smiles glowing in the afternoon light. 8 years of subtle digs, of borrowed money that never came back, of joint accounts mysteriously drained for Denise's emergencies. It all crystallized in that moment. "A toast!" Denise raised her glass. "To family, taking care of family." Mark clinked glasses with her. "To Mom." They both turned to me expectantly. I smiled, the kind of smile that starts small and grows like ivy up a wall, slow and inevitable. "Actually," I said, "I have something to celebrate too." The doorbell rang again. Mark frowned. "Are we expecting someone else?" "In a manner of speaking." I stayed seated as he went to answer it. A man in a crisp suit stood there holding a thick manila envelope. "Mark Mack?" "Yes." "You've been served." He thrust the envelope into Mark's hands and turned sharply on his heel. The wine glass slipped from Denise's manicured fingers, shattering on our hardwood floors. Red liquid spread like blood across the expensive boards I'd picked out last spring. Mark ripped open the envelope, his face going from confused to pale to mottled red as he scanned the documents. "What is this?" He threw the papers at me. "What did you do?" I picked up the scattered pages, smoothing them carefully. "I filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. These are the emergency motions my lawyer prepared, including one freezing all our assets pending investigation of financial misconduct." "You can't do this!" Denise shrieked, lunging for the papers. I held them out of reach. "Actually, I can, and I did." I stood up, gathering my bag. "You might want to call your bank, Denise. That money you're so excited about, it's about to be frozen faster than your Botox." "You vindictive little—" Mark started toward me, but I held up my phone, already recording. "Careful, honey. Threatening behavior looks terrible in court." I headed for the door, pausing to look back at their shocked faces. "Oh, and Denise, you got wine on my floors. Make sure you clean that up before the forensic accountant arrives tomorrow. We wouldn't want anything staining the records, would we?" I walked out to my car, my heels clicking steadily on the driveway. Behind me, I could hear Denise's hysteria rising, Mark's angry shouts, the sound of something else breaking inside. But I didn't look back. I just smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months. "Smile for the process server, sweetheart," I whispered to myself, starting the engine, because that was just the beginning. "You saw this coming, didn't you?" Hadley asked, sliding a glass of wine across her kitchen counter to me. It was 3 days after I'd had Mark served, and I was finally telling my best friend the whole story. The signs were there for months, I said, pulling out my phone. Look at these transactions. I showed her screenshots of our joint account history. $500 here, $1,000 there, all transferred to Denise with vague descriptions like family emergency or loan repayment. Jesus, Hadley muttered, scrolling through. And he never discussed these with you? Nope, just kept saying his mother needed help, that I was being selfish for questioning it. I took a long sip of wine. But then I found this. I pulled up an email I'd discovered while using Mark's laptop for work one night. He'd left his personal email open, and there it was. A conversation with Denise from 6 months ago. Don't worry, Mom, Hadley read aloud. Once the trust fund matures, we'll move everything to your account. Serenity won't be an issue by then. What the actual fuck? That's when I called Fabian, I said, referring to the lawyer I'd quietly hired. He helped me protect what I could. Smart girl. Hadley, being a legal advisor herself, had recommended Fabian. What did you manage to save? I moved my business accounts first. They were always separate, thank God. Then Fabian helped me create a trust for my personal assets and investments. The joint savings was the only thing I couldn't touch without alerting Mark. My phone buzzed. Another angry text from Mark. You're making a huge mistake. Mom's lawyer will destroy you. Hadley snorted. Does his mom's lawyer know about the illegal tax filings? I smiled. Not yet. That's next week's surprise. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Hadley checked her security camera and cursed. Speaking of your mother-in-law from hell. Through the camera feed, I could see Denise standing at Hadley's front door, perfectly coiffed and practically vibrating with rage. I know you're in there, Serenity, she shouted at the door. You ungrateful little witch, after everything we've done for you. Hadley grabbed the intercom. This is private property, Denise. Only clients with retainers are allowed inside. We watched as Denise's face contorted. She grabbed her designer purse and hurled it at the camera. The feed went static. Well, I said dryly, there's the assault charge we needed. Hadley was already on the phone with the police. Yes, I have it all on video. She's still outside, threatening us. While Hadley handled the police report, I checked my email. There was a message from my assistant at the design studio. Mrs. Mack tried to get into the office this morning. Security stopped her. She was asking about your client files. Your mother-in-law's busy today, Hadley commented, reading over my shoulder. She's panicking, I said. The preliminary hearing is tomorrow. Once the judge sees the evidence of financial misconduct, they're going to lose everything, Hadley finished. You know that, right? This won't just hurt Mark. Denise could face serious charges. I thought about all the years of manipulation, the subtle undermining, the way they'd laughed while drinking my wine after stealing my savings. Good, I said firmly. They deserve each other's company in the mess they've made. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Georgia, Mark's sister. We need to talk. There's something you should know about what Mom did to Mark's ex-fiancé. Hadley read the text and whistled low. The plot thickens. Georgia never reached out before, I mused. She always took their side. Maybe she's seeing the light, or maybe it's a trap. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a call from Fabian. Serenity, he said when I answered. The judge granted our emergency motion. All accounts are frozen, including the recent transfer to your mother-in-law, and you'll never believe what our forensic accountant just found in Mark's business records. I put the phone on speaker as Fabian detailed the web of financial deception he'd uncovered. Hadley's eyes grew wider with each revelation. When the call ended, I felt lighter than I had in months. You know what the best part is, I told Hadley. They still think I'm just some silly decorator who'll back down if they pressure me enough. Their mistake, Hadley raised her glass, to underestimating women with good lawyers and better friends. We clinked glasses, and I allowed myself a moment of pure satisfaction. Tomorrow would bring more battles, but tonight I had my first real victory, And somewhere across town, I knew Mark and Denise were finally realizing that their perfectly controlled world was about to come crashing down. "Oh, she's telling everyone you stole from her," Georgia said, stirring her coffee nervously. We were meeting at a cafe far from her family's usual haunts. "Mom's been going to church every day, crying about how you betrayed the family." I couldn't help but laugh. "That's rich coming from them." "I know." Georgia glanced around, lowering her voice. "Look, there's something you need to know about Rachel. Rachel, Mark's ex-fiancée, from before you." Georgia pulled out her phone, showing me old photos. A pretty redhead smiled back at me, standing next to a younger Mark. "Mum destroyed her too." Before Georgia could continue, a familiar voice cut through the cafe. "Serenity, is that you?" My stomach dropped. My sister Lindsay stood there, designer bag in hand, looking exactly as she had 2 years ago when she'd borrowed $5,000 and disappeared. "Lindsay," I said flatly, "what a surprise. Oh my God, I've been trying to reach you." She pulled up a chair uninvited. "Your phone must be broken or something." Georgia shot me a questioning look. I shook my head slightly. "My phone works fine, Lindsay. I've just been busy with the divorce." "Right, the divorce!" Lindsay's eyes lit up with manufactured concern. "That's actually why I wanted to talk to you. I'm in a bit of a situation." "Let me guess," I interrupted. "You need money." "Just a small loan," she pleaded. $3,000! The timing's just really bad with my rent and... "No," Lindsay's sweet facade cracked. "Seriously? After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done for me?" I felt the same fury I'd felt with Mark rising up. Like borrowing money and ghosting me. Like showing up only when you need something. "That's not fair. I'm family." "Family?" I stood up, my chair scraping back. "You know what I've learned about family lately, Lindsay? It's just another word for guilt. Another excuse for taking." Georgia touched my arm gently. "Serenity." "No," I said firmly. "I'm done being everyone's ATM. Done being the responsible one who gets taken advantage of." Lindsay's eyes welled up with tears. "Mum was right about you. You've gotten so cold." "Mum?" I laughed bitterly. "The woman who stayed with Dad through 20 affairs because she was too scared to leave. The one who taught us that women should just smile and take it. Don't talk about her like that." "Why not? It's the truth. And I'm done pretending otherwise." I grabbed my purse. "I have a meeting with my lawyer. Georgia, call me about Rachel later." I left Lindsay sitting there, her perfectly timed tears already drying up. Outside, my phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Mum's in the hospital, stress-induced panic attack. I hope you're happy." Before I could respond, another text came through, this one from Georgia. "Don't believe it. Mom's at the country club right now. I can see her from the parking lot." I forwarded both messages to Fabian, adding, "More manipulation for the record." My phone rang, an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Is this Serenity?" A woman's voice, unfamiliar but urgent. "This is Rachel. Georgia gave me your number. We need to talk about Mark and Denise." I found a quiet spot on a nearby bench. "I'm listening." 5 years ago, I was where you are now," Rachel said. "Engaged to Mark, had my own business. Then Denise started spreading rumours that I was embezzling from clients. By the time I proved it wasn't true, my reputation was ruined." My hands tightened on the phone. "Did Mark know?" "No, he helped her do it. I found emails between them, planning the whole thing. They wanted my business to fail so I'd be more dependent on the family." I thought about the mysterious email thread I'd found on Mark's laptop. "Rachel, do you still have those emails?" "Better. I have the whole folder of evidence I gathered. Never did anything with it. Who'd believe me against the perfect Mac family? But if you want it..." "Yes," I said immediately. "My lawyer will contact you today." After getting Rachel's details, I called Fabian. His secretary put me straight through. "Perfect timing," he said. "I was just about to call you. We found something interesting in those financial records. Looks like there's a pattern of Mark and his mother targeting successful women, then systematically destroying their assets. You're not the first. No, I said, thinking of Rachel. But I'm going to be the last. One more thing, Fabian added. There's an old email thread from years ago, Mark and Denise discussing your fund once she's out of the way. The date on it, 3 months before your wedding. The pieces clicked into place. This hadn't been a sudden betrayal. It had been the plan all along. I hung up and texted Georgia. Tell me everything about Rachel, every detail. It's time to end this. The mediation room felt too small for the amount of ego Denise brought with her. She sat there in her Chanel suit, examining her manicure while Mark whispered urgently with their lawyer. Let's begin, the mediator said, shuffling papers. Mrs. Mack has requested... Actually, I interrupted quietly, I've resumed using my maiden name. Denise's head snapped up. How dare you, after everything our family has given you? Given? I smiled, sliding a folder across the table. Let's talk about giving, Denise, like the $30,000 I gave you last year for your supposed medical bills. Mark's lawyer frowned, opening the folder. What medical bills? Exactly, Fabian said, producing more documents. Our client transferred funds to cover emergency gallbladder surgery. Interesting, since Mrs. Mack was actually in Cabo that week, according to her own social media posts. Denise's face reddened. That's private information. Nothing's private in a fraud investigation, Fabian replied smoothly, including the multiple shell accounts we've uncovered. Mark slammed his hand on the table. This is ridiculous. She's just bitter because she can't handle that I chose my mother over her. Chose? I leaned forward. Or conspired, because we have emails, Mark. From before our wedding, planning how to take control of my assets. The colour drained from his face. You'll never survive alone, Denise spat. You're nothing without our family name, our connections. I pulled out one final document. Actually, I already have. I bought out Mark's share of the house last week. Court-approved interim order. I slid copies across the table. You might want to start packing. You can't do this. Mark stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. Sit down, Mr. Mack, the mediator warned, or we'll have to call security. Security? Denise laughed shrilly. Do you know who we are in this community? We do, Fabian said. We also know about Rachel. The room went deadly quiet. Mark's lawyer leaned over, whispering frantically in his ear. Rachel was unstable, Denise said quickly. Everyone knows that. Rachel was successful, I corrected, until you and Mark destroyed her business with false accusations, just like you tried to do to me last week at the country club. I don't know what you're talking about, Denise sniffed. I played a recording on my phone, Denise's voice clear as day, telling her friends I'd been stealing from clients. Then another recording, the country club manager confirming that no such rumours were true. Defamation is expensive, Fabian commented, especially when there's a pattern. Mark's lawyer stood up. We need a break. Of course, the mediator agreed. 10 minutes. As they filed out, Denise turned to me. You ungrateful little witch. I should have stopped this marriage before it started. Oh, but Denise, I said softly, you really shouldn't have said that while the recording was still running. She lunged for my phone, but security was faster. As they escorted her out, she screamed about family loyalty and ungrateful daughters-in-law. My phone buzzed. A text from Rocky, my ex. Got your message. You're not going to believe what I found out about what Mark did to your first business. Everything okay? Fabian asked, noticing my expression. No, I said, reading Rocky's next message. Everything's perfect. When Mark and his team returned, his lawyer immediately started talking settlements. But I held up my hand. Before we continue, I said, there's something else you should know about Mark's business practices, something from 10 years ago. Mark's face went pale again. He knew exactly what I was talking about. "Maybe," his lawyer said carefully, "we should discuss this privately first." "No need," I replied, pulling out my phone to show Rocky's message. "I think it's time everyone knew exactly who they're dealing with." The mediator leaned forward to read the screen, then looked at Mark with undisguised disgust. "Mr. Mack, is this true?" But Mark was already heading for the door, his perfect facade finally cracking. "He can run," Fabian said, gathering our documents, "but he can't hide from a federal investigation." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "Send everything to my new address. You know, the one Mark's name isn't on anymore." As I walked out, my phone rang again. Rocky's number. "You're not going to believe this," he said when I answered, "but I just got a very interesting call from someone who used to work for Mark." I smiled, stepping into the elevator. "Tell me everything." Behind me, I could hear Denise's voice rising again, demanding to speak to her son. But for the first time since this all began, her words had no power over me. "He did what?" I gripped my coffee cup tighter as Rocky explained over breakfast at our old favourite diner. "Mark deliberately sabotaged your first design contract," Rocky said, sliding a stack of printed emails across the table. "Remember that big hotel project you lost 10 years ago?" I remembered. It had been my first major opportunity, right before I met Mark. The contract mysteriously fell through at the last minute. "Your proposal never made it to the final review," Rocky continued. "Mark was working logistics for the hotel chain back then. He intercepted your bid, claimed there were liability issues." "How do you know this?" "Because Janet finally talked." Rocky pulled up an email on his phone. "Remember her? Mark's former assistant. She kept copies of everything." The email showed Mark writing to Denise. "Took care of that designer problem. She'll be desperate for work soon. Perfect timing to sweep in as her knight in shining armour." My hands shook. He planned it all. Meeting me was an accident. "There's more," Rocky said grimly. "Janet says he did this to other women too. Always successful, always independent. Then he'd swoop in when they were vulnerable." My phone buzzed. A text from Georgia. "Found these in Mom's study. You need to see them." Attached were photos of what looked like a scrapbook, pages filled with newspaper clippings, social media screenshots, and notes about different women. All Mark's exes, all successful businesswomen, all eventually ruined. "It's like a trophy collection," I muttered, showing Rocky. "Jesus," he said. "Your mother-in-law's been helping him target women for years." Another text from Georgia. "Found photos of his ex, Emma, too. Remember how Mom said she moved to Europe? That wasn't true." I dialed Georgia immediately. "What do you mean?" "Emma didn't leave," Georgia said quietly. "They destroyed her interior design firm in Seattle. She had to move back in with her parents in Ohio. Mum kept all the news articles about the company's collapse." I thought about how Mark had laughed when I started my own design business, how he'd called it my little hobby. "We need to expose this," I said. "Not just legally, everyone needs to know." "Already on it," Rocky said, turning his laptop around. He'd pulled up a popular divorce support forum. "Anonymous posts about financial abuse are trending right now. People are sharing their stories." I started typing, carefully omitting names, but including every detail. The systematic targeting, the financial manipulation, the mother-son conspiracy. "Post it," Rocky encouraged. "Let other women know they're not alone." I hit submit, then forwarded all the evidence to Fabian. My phone rang. Hadley this time. "Turn on the local news," she said without preamble. I pulled up the stream on Rocky's laptop. There was Denise being escorted from her country club in handcuffs. "Tax fraud," Hadley explained. "The forensic accountants found everything. She's been running a scheme through the club's charity foundation." "Does Mark know?" "Oh, he knows. He's been helping her hide money for years. The FBI just raided his office." I sat back, feeling oddly calm. It's all falling apart for them, isn't it? Like a house of cards, Hadley agreed. By the way, your forum post is going viral. 3 women have already come forward saying they had similar experiences with them. Rocky's phone pinged. Janet sent more emails. These are from 5 years ago, about Rachel. You're not going to believe what they did to her. Before he could elaborate, Georgia called again. Serenity, Mom's on her way to your office. She's not stable. Perfect, I said. The cameras are ready. Cameras? I installed a new security system last week. High definition, audio enabled, records everything. Smart girl, Rocky said approvingly. My phone buzzed with an email notification from Mark. Subject line, you've ruined everything. I opened it, screenshot it, and forwarded it to Fabian without reading further. Let him dig his own grave deeper. You know what the saddest part is? I told Rocky as we gathered our things. They really thought I was stupid, that I'd just cry and give up when they took my money. Their mistake, he said. They never realized you were playing the long game. My phone lit up with another text from Georgia. Mom just left for your office. She's got something in her bag. Be careful. I smiled, gathering my purse. Oh, I'm counting on her doing something dramatic. The cameras are rolling, and the police are on standby. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Rocky asked. Almost, I replied, heading for the door. But the best part, they still think they're the ones in control. As we left the diner, I could see storm clouds gathering. Perfect weather for what was about to unfold. We found the hidden accounts, Hadley announced, bursting into my office. 6 of them, all under fake business names, all tied to Denise's social security number. I looked up from my computer, where I'd been watching the security feed. And Mark? Listed as an authorized user on every single one. She dropped a thick folder on my desk. The fraud team's having a field day. There's at least $500,000 hidden away. My phone buzzed. Another message from one of Mark's exes who'd read my forum post. This one was from Emma in Ohio. They did the same thing to me. I have proof. The security feed beeped. Speaking of proof, I said, pointing to the screen. Denise had just stormed into the building lobby. Security's ready, Hadley asked, along with the police. I turned up the volume as Denise reached my floor. She burst through the office doors, mascara smeared, clutching her designer bag like a weapon. You vindictive little bitch. Good morning, Denise, I said calmly. I see you got the court notices. You think you can destroy my family? She slammed her hands on my desk. Everything we built? You mean everything you stole? I pulled up the financial records on my screen. Like the money you embezzled from your charity foundation, or the fake medical bills you used to drain my accounts. That money was ours. She reached into her bag. I wouldn't, Hadley warned, nodding toward the cameras. The police are already on their way up. Denise laughed hysterically. Police? Do you know how many judges we golf with? How many prosecutors come to our dinner parties? You mean like Judge Harrison? I asked sweetly. The one who just signed the warrant for your arrest? Her face went slack. What? Check your phone, Denise. It's all over the news. The FBI raid, the fraud charges, everything. She fumbled for her phone, then went pale as she scrolled through headlines. Prominent socialite arrested for fraud. Mother-son duo behind financial scam ring. Multiple victims come forward in investment scheme. This is impossible, she whispered. Actually, it was surprisingly easy, I said, standing up. You and Mark got sloppy, left paper trails, digital footprints, and your victims. They kept receipts. The elevator dinged. 2 police officers stepped out. Mrs. Mack, one called, we have some questions about your tax returns. Denise's composure finally shattered. She hurled her bag at me, screaming about ungrateful daughters-in-law and family loyalty. The police grabbed her before she could reach my desk. As they led her away, my phone rang. It was Fabian. Mark just tried to empty all the accounts, he said. Too late. Everything's frozen. And guess what we found in his offshore holdings? Tell me. A detailed playbook. Every woman they targeted, every business they destroyed, he kept records, Serenity, like trophies. My forum post had exploded overnight. Dozens of women sharing similar stories. Business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, all targeted by Mark and Denise, all systematically stripped of their assets. The DA wants to meet, Fabian continued. This is bigger than divorce now. We're looking at federal charges. Hadley touched my arm. Your sister's here. Lindsay stood in the doorway, looking smaller than usual. I saw the news, she said quietly, about what they did to you, to those other women. Come to ask for more money? I asked coldly. No. She pulled out an old cheque. I came to pay you back, and I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner, for always taking their side. Before I could respond, Georgia called. Mark just showed up at my house, she said, her voice shaking. He's demanding I give him the scrapbook. Is your security system on? Yes, and I'm recording everything. He's threatening to tell everyone I helped you. Let him, I said firmly. We have nothing to hide anymore. My computer pinged with a new email from Rachel. Just testified to the FBI about what they did to my company. You did it, Serenity. You brought them down. I looked around my office, at the business I'd built twice, at the evidence of their crimes scattered across my desk, at my sister standing awkwardly in the doorway. No, I told Rachel. We all did it, every woman they tried to destroy. We're just getting started. Hadley raised an eyebrow. What's next? I smiled, pulling up the growing list of victims who'd come forward. Now we make sure they never hurt another woman again. The police radio crackled with news of Mark's arrest as he left George's house. Outside my window, storm clouds finally broke, and rain began to fall. The courtroom fell silent as I took the stand. Mark sat at the defence table, his expensive suit unable to hide how grey and haggard he'd become. Denise wasn't present. She'd already been convicted on separate charges last week. Please state your name for the record, the prosecutor said. Serenity Andrews. I'd fully reclaimed my maiden name now. Miss Andrews, can you tell us when you first noticed financial irregularities in your joint accounts? I looked directly at Mark as I answered. The small transfers started right after our wedding. Always to his mother. Always explained away as family emergencies. And the larger transfers? Those began 3 years ago, right after my design business became profitable. The prosecutor displayed bank statements on the courtroom screen. Can you identify these transactions? Yes, that's the $30,000 they claimed was for Denise's emergency surgery. She was actually in Cabo that week. I pointed to another line, and that's the final transfer, $65,000 taken without my knowledge or consent. Mark's lawyer stood. Objection. My client had legal access to those accounts. Access isn't ownership, the prosecutor countered, and we have evidence of premeditation. She played the recording from Denise's country club meltdown, where she'd admitted planning to stop my marriage before it started. Then emails between Mark and his mother discussing their investment strategy for my assets. Ms. Andrews, the prosecutor continued, you're not the only victim, are you? No. I gestured to the gallery where Rachel, Emma, and 3 other women sat. They'd done this before, multiple times. Mark's lawyer tried objecting again, but the evidence was overwhelming. Janet, his former assistant, had provided years of documentation. Georgia had turned over their mother's trophy scrapbook. The financial forensics team had traced every hidden account, every fraudulent transaction. Your Honour, the prosecutor said, the state would like to call our next witness, Rachel Martinez. As I stepped down from the stand, Rachel passed me. She squeezed my hand briefly. Mr. Mack ruined my architecture firm, Rachel testified. He and his mother spread rumours about embezzlement, contacted my clients with false allegations. By the time I cleared my name, I'd lost everything. One by one, the women testified. Emma described losing her interior design company. Sarah detailed how they'd destroyed her real estate business. Each story followed the same pattern: successful women systematically targeted and stripped of their assets. During a brief recess, Hadley found me in the hallway. Mark's lawyer is asking about a plea deal. Too late, I said. He had his chance. Denise is trying to claim mental incompetence for her separate charges. I laughed. Good luck with that. The country club security footage of her attacking me shows pretty clear competence. Back in court, Mark finally took the stand. He tried spinning everything as misunderstandings, family loyalty, protective instincts gone wrong. So you didn't intentionally target successful businesswomen? The prosecutor asked. Of course not. I was trying to help them. Help them? She pulled up his emails to Denise. Like when you wrote, another one down, Mother. Her assets are ripe for picking. Mark's facade cracked. You don't understand. These women needed guidance, structure. They needed their lives back, I called out, unable to help myself. The judge gave me a warning look, but I saw several jurors nodding. The closing arguments were brief. The evidence spoke for itself. The jury took less than 2 hours to return their verdict. Guilty on all counts. Mark slumped in his chair as the judge detailed his sentence. 15 years, no possibility of early parole, full restitution to all victims. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Ms. Andrews, how does it feel to bring down this fraud ring? I looked at the other women, no longer victims, but survivors. This wasn't about bringing anyone down. It was about standing up. For ourselves and for every woman they might have targeted next. Any comment on Mrs. Mack's separate conviction? Karma doesn't always need legal assistance, I said, but sometimes it appreciates the help. Rachel laughed, linking her arm through mine. Come on, we're celebrating. As we walked away, I heard one reporter ask another, did you see how calm she was through the whole trial? I smiled, remembering how Mark used to mistake my quietness for weakness. How Denise had called me pathetic for being methodical instead of emotional. They never understood that real power doesn't need to shout. My phone buzzed, a text from Georgia. It's done. You did it. Also, can we talk soon? I could use some advice about starting over. Of course, I typed back. That's what sisters are for. The sun was setting as we left the courthouse, casting long shadows behind us. But for the first time in years, I was walking toward the light. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt through my new apartment as I finished unpacking the last box. My phone buzzed with notifications, more women sharing their stories on the support forum, each one a reminder of why I'd fought so hard. The doorbell rang. Georgia stood there looking nervous but determined. I brought housewarming wine and questions about starting my own business. Come in. I led her to the balcony where Hadley was already setting up lunch. Perfect timing. This view is incredible, Georgia said, looking at the waves. The house sale must have done well. Well enough to fund the scholarship, I replied, pouring wine. 5 grants already awarded to women rebuilding after financial abuse. I saw the announcement, Hadley said. The applications keep flooding in. My phone rang. Rachel. Turn on the news. They're covering Denise's sentencing. I flicked on the TV. There she was, being led away in handcuffs, her designer outfit replaced by prison orange. 20 years for fraud, tax evasion, and running a criminal enterprise. Hard to believe she's my mother, Georgia muttered. Family is what we choose, I said, thinking of how Lindsay had finally started therapy, working through our own family's dysfunction. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Rocky, carrying files. Janet sent more evidence. 3 cold cases reopened based on Mark's records. The FBI wants your help connecting the dots. Always happy to help Karma along, I said, taking the files. My laptop pinged with an email from Emma. Design collaboration. My firm in Ohio is expanding to the coast. Speaking of expansion, Hadley said, have you seen your client waitlist? It's getting ridiculous. That's actually what I wanted to discuss, Georgia admitted. I've been studying interior design, thought maybe if you needed help. I looked at her, really looked at her. Gone was the scared woman who'd enabled her family's crimes. In her place sat someone ready to build something new. Let's talk business plans, I said, pulling out my tablet. Rocky whistled, reading the news on his phone. Mark's appeals were denied. He's serving the full 15 years. Good, Georgia said firmly. He deserves every minute. My phone lit up with a text from Lindsay. First therapy session done. You were right. It's time to break the cycles. You know what I love most about this apartment, I told them, watching the waves crash below. It's built on solid ground. No shifting sand, no unstable foundation, just truth and strength. Speaking of strength, Hadley raised her glass. Have you seen the impact statements from your forum post? Over 300 women came forward. You started a movement. We all did, I corrected. Every woman who refused to stay silent, every survivor who shared their story. Even me? Georgia asked quietly. Especially you. Turning against family takes incredible courage. The afternoon sun painted everything in gold as we planned and plotted. Georgia sketched design ideas while Hadley reviewed contracts. Rocky organised case files while I answered emails from women seeking advice. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Mark's prison account. I should have known better than to underestimate you. I deleted it without responding. He'd lost the right to my attention, my energy, my time. You know what this place needs? Georgia said suddenly. A sign, something powerful. Already handled, Hadley grinned, pulling out a wrapped package. Inside was a sleek plaque, built on truth, standing in power. Perfect, I said, running my fingers over the words. Where should we hang it? By the door, Rocky suggested. First thing anyone sees when they walk in. As we debated placement, I looked around at my chosen family, the sister finding her strength, the friends who became warriors, the survivors becoming advocates. 2 new beginnings, Georgia raised her glass. 2 solid foundations, Hadley added. 2 standing in our power, I finished. The ocean crashed below, steady and strong. Like us, like the truth, like justice when it finally arrives. My laptop pinged again, another woman reaching out for help. I opened the message, ready to share what I'd learned. That revenge doesn't always roar, that justice can be quiet, that strength often looks like simply standing your ground. And sometimes when you stand long enough, you find you've built something beautiful on the ashes of what tried to break you. I smiled, not the quiet smile of survival, but the fierce grin of someone who knew exactly who she was and what she could do. Time to get to work, I said, opening my laptop. We've got more foundations to build.